Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back again outside the squared circle. About to give you our thoughts on tonight's fight between Canelo Alvarez and James Kirkland. I'm Frank. That's your boy Dennis. Now, before we get into it, I want to shout out Boxing Videos, Only Full Fights. Great Facebook page, great material. They put out the best videos, the clearest videos, and they usually respond to people, which makes it fun. You get to talk to other people. So go ahead and give them a like. I'm going to put a link in the description so you guys can go follow them. Now, diving right into it, man, the Canelo Kirkland fight was action packed. I mean, that we knew it was gonna be, but for it to end that early was crazy. What are your thoughts on the fight, Dennis?
First off, um, whenever I see a great fight like that, I absolutely have to give props. Canelo did an excellent job. So let me give him his props. Canelo, job well done. I knew, and I want to go out explaining this. I like to explain things and walk through it because we love the feedback from all you fans, but we get a lot of criticism, which is good because we enjoy any feedback that we can get. My expectations was Canelo was favored to win this fight. Did I favor him? Absolutely. He's the better fighter all around. He's a smarter guy, better all around boxer. He could have won this fight by brawling or by boxing. James Kirkland, however, could only win this fight by one way. He had one shot, was to pressure Canelo and hope to hit him and hurt him and wear him down. That was his only hope. Now, with that being said, I myself am an underdog guy. So I always root for the underdogs. Just personally, that's how I like it. And I kind of wanted to see Kirkland pull it off because I wanted to see if he can do it without Aaron Wolf. I wanted to root for him to see if he can give that one good spirited fight that nobody really thought he could win to win it. There's nothing better than coming and saying the underdog come to fight and actually pulling it off because nobody expected it. That is what makes boxing great because the little guys can win. That is not often in many sports where the guy that you didn't really give a whole lot of chance to actually happens. So I wanted the Kirkland to win on that note. But let's not forget, Canelo is the better fighter, was the better fighter, and he proved it and showed it. And from now, the sky's the limit. I think when Floyd Mayweather is gone, that he can, along with maybe a GGG, or if Andre Ward, if he gets the upper weight class fights that we would like to see, like Cole over some of those guys can be the face of the sport of boxing.
Don't forget my boy Terrence Crawford.
Absolutely, Terrence Crawford. Those guys could be the face of the sport, and they could be the pay-per-view draws. So, who would I like to see Canelo with next? I'm gonna dive right into it. Me personally, I've been looming, I should say, for that Cotto fight. Many people out there don't think that maybe Cotto don't have a chance because he's a shop one fighter. But I gotta tell you this: Cotto is very smart, an intelligent fighter. And he knows that Canelo Alvarez is a big, strong kid on the path for greatness. And I don't think that he would come in there and try to fight the way that he fought, let's say, Devin Rodriguez or even Sergio Martinez. I think that he would be very smart. He would stay away, and he would try to outbox him when he can. So to see the lineal champion, Miguel Cotto, use his smart veteran intelligence against a hungry, vicious Canelo Alvarez will be none other than a great fight in my eyes. That's who I would like to see next for those reasons. And if somehow we can't get that, I'm not upset. But will it be too much for me to ask for Canelo versus GGG? I don't think so. I think, and this is something that we got to bring up, Canelo is a 160-pound fighter.
Oh, yeah.
Masking himself as a 154 or 155 because he rarely fights at 154. He's a 160-pound fighter. Let's not mix that up. This is a big, strong kid, and I think he's a problem from anybody to 154 to 160. So seeing him against a GGG, if people say he's too small, absolutely not. I think that's a perfect match. And I want to be clear about this. Do I favor GGG in that fight? The same way I did with Kirkland. Do I favor GGG? Is he rightfully favored? Absolutely. Will I want Canelo to win? Yes. I would want Canelo to win. Let's not mix that with who's supposed to win with who I want to win. My professional analyst opinion is that GGG will be too strong, too vicious, and too much for Canelo Alvarez. But my heart would be with Canelo Alvarez to rile up and prove everybody wrong that he is a valid warrior and a contender from anybody in those two weight classes. And that's just my wrap up on the fight and also what I see next for them. And I go with James Kirkland. I take nothing away from him. He's a warrior. You know, he was outmatched and outgunned, but he came in there with a plan to try to be on top of Canelo, and it didn't work out as well. I thought he should have clinched a little bit more, moved a little bit more. But like I said, I never really seen Kirkland fight any other way. He has a sort of one type style that works for him. But it didn't work tonight because he was in there with a guy that was just an all-around better fighter. And it was not going to happen. But I take nothing away from him, and I would love to see him against any other fighter at 154. I don't know if I should say James should move up to 160. I'm not sure about that yet. But I would love to see him against, hey, why not James Kirkland and Ishe Smith? Why not? You know, why not that classic boxer versus puncher? You know, I mean, I would love to see matches like that. But with that being said, I got to say that Canelo is the face and the future of boxing. How do you see it, Frank?
Man, well, I'll go ahead and touch on the fight itself. It's no secret that Canelo was the favorite. And just like you said, he was rightfully so the favorite. I mean, he's the better all-around boxer. I think the only thing coming into the fight that you could give as an advantage for James Kirkland was his power. I mean, but just very early on, you can just tell that Canelo was just way too accurate for him. Just way too accurate. And just like you stated, Kirkland only fights one way, which makes him entertaining. He's a great fighter to watch because he's a warrior. He's going to go out on his shield. But going in against a very smart fighter in Canelo, you can't just keep going straight forward like that. I mean, Canelo's so accurate with his power punches, and he's such a big, strong kid that one of these are eventually going to hurt you, and especially with James Kirkland being a bit chinny, he just did himself in there. I mean, but the heart displayed by Kirkland was amazing. After getting knocked down in that first round, for him to come back and throw 90 punches in the second round and still be trying to win that fight, even though he was still hurt in that second round, was a great showing for him. But man, you know what? As much as that video that's going around with Ann Wolfe and the way that she was abusing her fighters, it's clear that James Kirkland is not the same guy without Ann Wolfe in his corner. It's just not the case. I mean, whatever she does with him, she brings out the dog in him. She doesn't change the way he fights. He still fights the same way. But just like we saw in the Tapia fight that he fought, he gets hurt early, or the Angulo fight, he gets hurt early, but he just has a way to keep coming and just the two fights that she wasn't there, he gets knocked out. I mean, is it coincidence or is it not? I mean, we'll never really know, but he's clearly not the same guy without her. But yeah, I mean, as for the fight didn't last long, so there's not too much to analyze other than to say that Canelo looked absolutely wonderful. And I gotta say, that in that third round, the first knockdown, that counter uppercut might be the prettiest punch I've ever seen. I mean, that was a thing of beauty. That thing was crisp. I mean, Canelo looked sharp. I was impressed by him because going into the fight, I predicted him to win, but I predicted him to struggle a little bit. I thought James Kirkland would pose a bit more of a threat to him just because of his power alone. I mean, we've never really seen Canelo get hit by someone as strong as James Kirkland did. So I thought Kirkland would catch him and maybe get him in a little bit of trouble, especially early, but it didn't. It wasn't the case at all. I was wrong about that. So I'll dive right into what I think should be next. To be honest with you, the only fight I want to see next for Canelo is a Cotto fight. I mean, the writing's on the wall for that fight, and it has been since last year. I mean, if those two don't get it on, I'm going to be pretty mad. I know you said you wouldn't be too upset about it, but I'd be pretty pissed if that fight doesn't get made because one, those two are two of my favorite boxers, and two, I mean, it's just going to be an electric fight. In terms of who I think would win, I'm actually surprised that there are a lot of people that just think Canelo would steamroll him, even though I do think Canelo will win the fight. I mean, you're talking about outside of Floyd Mayweather, this is going to be the best fighter that Canelo has ever faced. Cotto's a very crafty guy. Cotto's a very strong guy. Cotto, I think as an overall boxer puncher, because I would classify the both of those as boxer punchers. I think he's a bit more technically sound than Canelo, but I do think Canelo's better defensively, which I think would win him that fight. But I think that's a great fight. I don't lean towards Canelo too far in that fight. Maybe 45-55 in Canelo's favor, 60-40-ish, but that fight has to be made next. And like you said, if that fight doesn't get made, I will gladly take a Gennady Golovkin fight versus Canelo, because Canelo's a big dude, and just like you said, he's a 160-pound fighter. I mean, we were talking about that before we even started recording this podcast. He's a big dude. I mean, you're talking about him coming into fights weighing 175. He's just as big, if not bigger, than Gennady Golovkin. So size disparity won't be there if they fight. I mean, both of those fights are great. As for what Kirkland can do next, man, I wouldn't be mad if he retired, man. He's taken a lot of punishment. He's a warrior. You can't take anything away from James Kirkland. He's what makes this sport beautiful. He's just one of those dudes who's going to keep coming and keep coming. And at the same time, there has to be a point where you look at people not just as boxers, but as human beings, and you ask yourself, how much more punishment can they take? How much more punishment can they take before they're slurring their words when when they're 40 or 50? Or they get Parkinson's by the time they're 60, and they can't move anymore and just things. So looking at it from that standpoint, man, I wouldn't be mad at him if he retired. But if he does decide to stick with the sport, I wouldn't be mad if he fought a Charlo twin. I think that would be a really good look for him, because if he does stay in, he's gonna have to go back to the drawing board. He can't just continue to go in against the top opposition and not continue to lose, but lose in the fashion that he does lose in. Or even win and take the amount of punishment. So a fight against the Charlo twin, and if he wins, then you talk about him facing, the upper echelon. But even if he moved to 160, I wouldn't be mad if he fought maybe the Lemieux versus Ndam winner. I think that could be a really good fight. But like I said, if it were up to me, I would advise him to retire. I mean, he's taken a lot of punishment. He's accomplished a lot in the sport. He's a great fighter. He's a very entertaining fighter. I just don't want to see him take any more punishment. But the one thing I actually forgot to touch on in talking about Canelo was that, I mean, the vast improvement that we've seen from him from that Floyd Mayweather loss till now is absolutely insane. I mean, he went back to the drawing board, and he went back hard, because he's such a smart, he's learned so much. He's a smarter fighter now. His style has changed a little bit now, where he takes more chances, and he sets traps and things. Like, the improvement that we've seen since he fought Floyd is almost unheard of, because everyone who loses to Floyd usually doesn't look too good afterwards. I mean, you can go down the list of fighters that Floyd has schooled and Floyd has beat, and they just have been different fighters afterwards. So I think that's insane and just awesome to see the improvement in Canelo Alvarez. And you may be right, man. He might be the future of the sport. I mean, he's following the blueprint that we've seen in Oscar De La Hoya. He's the handsome young kid. He's the action-packed fighter. He's not ducking anyone. He's fighting everyone that we want him to fight. I mean, he might be the next pay-per-view star in this sport, man. You might be right about that one.
After the Floyd fight, Floyd actually said, hey, he's going to be one of the guys to take over this sport when I'm gone. And I think rightfully so. He has everything that you want. The only thing I got to say is I wish if he's going to do that, he definitely need to work on his English. Other than that, he has everything that you will need in a young rising star. So I just can't wait to see what the future holds.
All right, everyone, thank you for watching. We appreciate the support. I'm going to have to ask you to please like this, please share it, please give us, please subscribe to us, and go ahead and give us a Facebook like. I'm going to put our link in the description. Again, the fight was a great fight to see. It was entertaining for casuals and hardcores alike. We're hoping that the future for Canelo is bright. Hopefully he gets himself another big fight in the future. And again, go ahead and like boxing videos, only full fights. Great Facebook page. I'm Frank. That's Dennis. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Critique us. Let us know what we can do better. Give us ideas in the comments as to what you want us to talk about in the future, other than analysis fights and predictions for fights. So I hope you guys enjoy, man. Have a blessed day.